At SupportLogic, sentiment analysis is at the core of everything we do. Our natural language processing models underpin our entire platform and are leveraged extensively for all the use cases that we support. This includes our proactive alerting, our escalation prediction, our account health scoring. Sentiment underpins all of this. Within our platform, there are over 40 signals that are available and that the natural language processing is built to detect. What you're looking at right here is our console page. The console page is really intended for daily workflows that a support manager would perform within our platform, or an escalation manager, or any individual who is actively working cases for your organization. Notice as I click over to negative sentiments, you'll see that there are a variety of different signals detected. We have negative sentiment signals, frustration signals, impatience, confusion, lack of progress, as well as not helpful. These are just some of the signals that are detected on these cases within this demo environment. We also have our needs attention signals. Needs attention signals are also detected by natural language processing, but tend to be focused more around procedural language. As an example, you'll see an escalation request where the customer is actively asking for a case to be escalated. Critical issue. Customer suggesting that an issue is extremely serious. Keep in mind, this is not keyword driven. It's driven by patterns. So while keywords are relevant, it's also looking at tone, it's looking at a variety of different words. So a critical issue signal does not require the word critical in order to be detected as a critical issue signal. You'll also see urgency, follow-up request, which is quite simply a customer just asking for another update, call request, customer requesting a call, as well as churn risk. Churn risk being when there are patterns in the language that a customer uses that suggest that the account might be at risk. In addition to that, SupportLogic also looks for positive sentiments. You'll see here we have positive, helpful, good information, as well as fast response. And these are just some of the signals available. The ones that you see are simply ones that have been detected on the cases in our demo environment. In addition to that, we also have our likely to escalate predictions. Now, our likely to escalate predictions look at not just sentiment, but also look at some of the metadata surrounding the case. Before I get to those, let's talk a little bit about sentiment scoring and attention scoring. If I open up an individual case here, you'll see that you have a sentiment score and an attention score listed for the case. Now, the beauty of sentiment and attention scores is that they're contextual. They change over time depending on the behavior on a case. You'll notice they can range from 0 up to 100, with a low sentiment score being very low, being a negative score, and the high attention score suggesting that a case needs attention. You'll see we detect a variety of signals here on this individual case. There can be many, and all of those different signals roll up into that sentiment score and that attention score. Some additional factors that play into those scores are also the response times on the case, the amount of messages back and forth on a case. All of these things play into the detection and creation of that score. Those scores can then be used for prioritization, both within views in the platform, as well as for proactive alerting. In addition to that, those sentiment and attention scores roll up into our account health scoring. So our account health scoring looks at the history of cases that a customer has opened and looks at those trends over time. So it's looking at current state, but it's also looking at the historical context. How many cases does this customer have open that have engineering issues tied to them? So defects, right? If there are many of those, it's likely that that customer is in a slightly worse state than a customer who most of their cases are open simply to ask how-to questions. Looks at case activity and how that activity is trending over time, as well as case closure time and how that's trending over time. But a key piece of it is obviously sentiment, as sentiment underpins all of our machine learning. So the other key thing that I had mentioned was escalation prediction. Escalation prediction absolutely takes into consideration the sentiment signals on the case, and this is the escalation board within the platform. And what SupportLogic does is it will predict cases at being at risk of escalation if there are a number of negative signals on the case, low sentiment score, high attention score, as well as looking at, has this customer had a lot of escalation recently? What are the response times? All of those things. Now, the workflow within our platform when a case is predicted as likely to escalate is to perform an escalation review. And you'll notice if I click this link to start a review, a panel opens up on the side, which will highlight key insights about this case and how it could and why it could be at risk. The case activity, the agent activity, the customer activity, all of these different things. And then in addition to that, when completing this workflow and deciding if there's an action that you might take on a case, you have to acknowledge or disagree with the prediction. Acknowledging the prediction means you're calling out to the ML that this is a good prediction. I can clearly see why this case was at risk and why it was predicted. Or disagree with the prediction if you don't believe that it was a good prediction. The beauty of this is that this feedback is factored back into the machine learning as part of a continuous learning process, and so the escalation model will improve over time. In addition to that, you have a number of other views available in the platform so that you can look at your backlog sorted by your sentiment score. And you can filter these cases down to view just what's relevant to you so that you're not looking at your entire backlog. As a manager, you might simply create filters to look at only the cases that are owned by members of your team. Next, we also have extensive analytics within the platform. So this includes analytics focused around typical support metrics, such as your backlog, your number of escalations, case activity, SLAs. But more importantly, with the sentiment analysis, we have extensive analytics that allows you to look at sentiment holistically across your cases. So you'll see here, based on the time frame that I've selected, these are all the signals that were detected across your cases. All of these cases can be downloaded with a little bit of metadata tied to them so that you can do additional manipulation with the data at your convenience. You can also look at trends of sentiment score broken down by any type of metadata that you have. In the demo environment here, you can see I'm looking at my sentiment score by SupportLogic product. And so I can see which ones are trending in the right direction and which ones are trending in the wrong direction. You can also look at these signals over time and how those are changing or trending, as well as you can look at groupings of the scores. Key being is that you may want to do further analysis of the cases that have very low sentiment scores to look for patterns or trends. In addition to all of that, you can set specific targets around sentiment score and attention score for your cases so that your teams are always working towards something, always working towards improving performance. Additionally, we also have our text analytics, and text analytics allows you to look at a breakdown of your cases grouped by any of the metadata that already exists within your Salesforce instance, right? So these are all custom fields that have been ingested. Able to look at the cases broken down by needs, attention, signals, negative sentiments, and positive sentiments. And also, under top entities here, you can see what percentage of cases contain terms and topics from your specific data dictionary that we've entered into SupportLogic. Any specific words or phrases unique to your business, you can see how many they have been detected, as well as drill in to those cases specifically and see the breakdown, once again, by any custom field values that you have. This can allow you to spot potential problem areas, as well as do some trend analysis. In addition to the reporting that's available within platform, all of the signals and predictions, all the sentiment and the scores and account health scoring, all of it can be easily extracted by leveraging our SupportLogic data cloud. Basically, we would give you access to all the historical information and analysis that sits within our own Snowflake instances, as your data as a customer is stored within Snowflake, as that's what our infrastructure is built upon. We can give you access to that, and then you can take that data and put it into your own BI tools so that you can correlate it with other key analytics associated with your business. Finally, we also have extensive alerting capabilities because we don't expect your team to be working entirely out of SupportLogic all the time. Our end users will typically come into the platform, do some work at the beginning of their day, pop in periodically throughout, right? But also will configure alerts so that after they've completed their initial tasks in SupportLogic and they go about the rest of their daily activities in their role, they can receive alerts via MS Teams, email, Slack, whatever the channel of choices that you use. And those alerts will contain information about signals detected, along with case IDs, account IDs, anything, any other metadata you want to include in the payload, and will also contain a link. That link can be configured to take you back into SupportLogic so that you can deep dive further into a case that had signals detected upon it, or that link can be configured to take you right to your own Salesforce instance to view the case there. And you can also have both links if you prefer. These alerts can be configured to be very, very targeted. So you want to think about what specific use cases are where you'd want to be notified. All right, so that's a comprehensive overview of our sentiment analysis capabilities and how they're used within our platform. Thanks for your time. Hope you enjoyed the video.